If we don't halt population growth with justice and compassion, it will be done for us by nature, brutally and without pity, and will leave a ravaged world. Nobel laureate Henry W. Kendall. Procreation is fundamental to human existence. In fact, it seems that our evolutionary trajectory is all about increasing our numbers. Think about this for a second. In the grand scale of geological time, our species has exploded in population pretty quickly. I mean, sure, our ancestors have been around for about 6 million years, but modern humans like you and me, we've only been here for about 200,000 years. And as for our recorded civilization, that's only been going on for about 6,000 years. Now let me throw in another perspective for you. The Industrial Revolution only began in the 1800s. When you compare all of these numbers to the age of the Earth, which is about 4.5 billion years old, our time on this planet is like a tiny speck of sand. But here's the crazy part. In our brief time here, humans have risen to the top of the world's hierarchy. Right now, our population stands at an astonishing 8 billion people. And guess who's leading the pack? It's India, with a whopping 1.43 billion people. China is a close second at 1.42 billion, and the United States, while still a distant third, has a population of about 340 million. Let's dive a little deeper into these numbers. Population density estimates suggest that India has a staggering 481 people per square kilometer. In comparison, China has 152 people per square kilometer, while the United States has a more modest 37 people per square kilometer. You know, these population numbers tell quite a story. And even without breaking it down by country, it's clear to see that our population is exploding at an unprecedented rate. But I hear you asking, aren't there other species that are way more populated than us? You're probably thinking of ants, right? Well, you're not wrong. According to biologists who study ants, there are around 20 quadrillion of these insects, divided into over 14,000 unique species and subspecies. And yes, their numbers dwarf ours by several orders of magnitude. So you might be wondering, why is no one raising an eyebrow at their population? Why are we worried about our growing numbers? What makes overpopulation of humans an issue when we're thinking about the future and raising children? You see, the difference is in the impact we have on the planet. Unlike ants or other insects, animals, and plants, we humans are incredibly resource-intensive. These other species can get by with minimal resource consumption, and they don't tend to leave long-lasting harmful impacts on the environment as they go about meeting their needs. Humans, on the other hand, have a whole different ball game. We burn fuel, we mine minerals, we fertilize lands, and we change natural structures just to survive. Whether you want to believe it or not, our footprint is taking a serious toll on the planet. The evidence is already stacking up. The resources we need to sustain our growing population are dwindling fast. It's gotten to the point where global conflicts are happening over resource-rich territories. You've heard about that, right? It's a stark reminder that our planet can't keep up with our ever-increasing demands. So when we're talking about overpopulation, it's not just a numbers game. It's about the kind of world we're leaving behind for future generations. So let's think about this for a moment. Given the state of our world with its environmental issues, economic troubles, and geopolitical instability, is it still right to bring children into the world? Is it morally justifiable to raise a child in a world that already has so many problems? And could avoiding the decision to have a child actually be an act of saving the earth and its inhabitants? But first, let's tackle this question. Why do people even have children? Now, this might sound like a philosophical question, but it's really not. People have children because, well, we're pretty much designed to do so. Our physiological traits make it possible for us to produce offspring. It's pretty clear that we're wired to keep our species going. Some people want children because it brings a sense of completion to their lives, or to have a family to love and cherish. Others have children because they find it fulfilling the feeling that even without a partner, as long as they have a child, their lives are complete. When you think about it, it's almost as if humans have this ingrained desire to see our kind spread and thrive. By raising a child, we're unconsciously passing on our hopes that the next generation will be better than us, richer than us, more successful than us. In fact, many parents have children to help them out economically. In many developing countries, children often stop going to school at a young age to join the informal labor force. They're out there doing manual labor like farming or fishing, jobs that can be dangerous for young bodies and minds. And believe it or not, many parents don't even think twice about it. They push their kids into these situations just to put food on the table. Okay, you might be thinking, this sounds like a bunch of made-up stories. But let me tell you, this is real. The International Labor Organization estimated that there are around 250 million child laborers in developing countries, and at least 120 million of them are working full-time. Let's break down those numbers a bit. 61% of these children are in Asia, 32% in Africa, and 7% in Latin America. These are real kids who should be playing and going to school, but instead, they're working. So you're probably getting where I'm going with this. While humans are naturally inclined to procreate, we should do it responsibly and thoughtfully. If you're already a parent or planning to become one, you should realize that your child's life is not yours to control. You owe them a life that they deserve. So if you're thinking of becoming a parent, make sure you're truly capable of raising a child in a loving, nurturing environment where they can grow up happy and healthy. If not, I hate to be blunt, but maybe you shouldn't be having kids. It would be a moral mistake to bring a child into the world just because you can, without considering whether you can provide for their needs. But what does it take to be someone who deserves to have a child? Well, money is definitely one of the biggest factors. I know it sounds kind of cold and heartless to boil it down to money, but bear with me. According to the Brookings Institution back in 2015, a middle-income family in the United States with 2 children would need to spend at least $310,000 to raise a child up to the age of 17. And that was in 2015.
No, God!
So with all the inflation that's happened since then, that number has probably doubled or even tripled by now. While the cost varies from country to country, it's safe to say that raising a child is expensive. Even just one child. You need to be able to pay for their food, shelter, education, healthcare, and recreation. So if you're not ready to handle all that, or if you think you'll never be able to meet those needs, is it still a good idea to have a child? Think about it. So you might be thinking, but I'm rich. My family has money, and I'm married to someone loaded. I can afford all the things a child needs. So I'm qualified to have a child, right? Well, not so fast. There's more to it than just money. You need to pay attention to what's happening around you. Consider the environment and the safety of your area. How's the economy of your country? Do you feel a sense of peace and security? Do you think your family can grow and prosper under the current conditions? Even if you have a lot of money, remember that we can't control everything. We can't control the weather, and we can't stop a war from breaking out or a market crash. I know I might sound pessimistic, but these are real issues. And depending on the state of the society and economy, raising a child might be a risky move. And we can't forget about sustainability either. As I mentioned earlier, meeting our daily needs requires exploiting resources. The food you eat comes from farms, which over time become too acidic because of the constant use of fertilizers and insecticides. The fuel in your car comes from burning fossil fuels. The more people there are in the world, the more we damage the environment, and a lot of this damage is permanent. Many metals used in our appliances and buildings are non-renewable. At the same time, hundreds of species of animals go extinct because of over-exploitation and commercialization. It's a dog-eat-dog world, but we humans, we are taking it too far. So why still add more beings that could add to that problem? After all that I've pointed out, you probably get the sense that I'm leaning towards people reconsidering the idea of having children. But at the end of the day, I can't make decisions for you. I can't change your mind about this. All I did was bring up some of the potential consequences of adding more children into an already complicated world. I mean, sure, the right to have a child is granted to anyone, and many people want to exercise that right. But when you look at the big picture, there are certain criteria that should ideally be met to ensure that exercising this right doesn't cause further problems for both the child and the world. Your ability to provide for a child is just one of these criteria. One of the most important things to consider is how you plan to raise your children. It's crucial to create a nurturing environment for them, a place where they can feel love and connection with the people who matter most to them, probably you. Don't underestimate the power of family dynamics. They can make or break a child. Emotional and physical abuse during childhood can have long-lasting effects, turning kids into adults who are depressed, fragile, and more likely to get involved in crime and violence. These individuals can end up being a burden on the government or authorities. If you're not confident you can provide a loving and socially appropriate environment for a child, then you should think twice about having one. Moreover, be the person your child can lean on and trust. Foster an environment where they can flourish, chase their passions, and develop a wide array of life skills. But also remember to teach them discipline. We're facing a moral decline in today's society, and it's backed up by several studies, including research by Gallup. We're the ones who can help shape our kids' identities. If we neglect our duty to instill values in them, our children might just become the next generation's problems. There's a study by Baumrind, for instance, that shows how permissive parenting leads to kids who are less competent and more likely to use substances. If you're planning to have a child, be sure that you can raise them to be a solid cornerstone for a brighter future. They should be smart, self-confident, and able. They should shine in the fields they're passionate about and be able to contribute to finding solutions for the world's ever-mounting problems. We need to make sure our children are mentally resilient, capable of sharing love with others. We should be raising kids who embody the idea that humanity, at its core, is a compassionate and logical species that belongs not just to this world, but to the universe itself. Thanks for sticking until the end. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I know it feels like a bit of a hassle, but it really does help the Beyond Life channel grow and create more thought-provoking and informative content. That's it for now. Stay safe and see you in the next one.